It was supposed to be over. NASCAR made sure of that. They stripped 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports of their charters, the golden tickets that guarantee teams a spot in the race and a huge chunk of the money. No charter, no protection, no promises, just the cold open field where one bad qualifying run can send you packing. It was a clear message: fall in line or fall out. But then, something happened, something no one saw coming. 2311. Racing just scored a massive victory in court. A move so bold, so unexpected, that NASCAR is now rewriting its own rulebook, just to keep up. Let's break it down. This didn't start in a courtroom. It started in the garage, with whispers, with warnings. When 2311 and Front Row Motorsports refused to sign NASCAR's new 2025 charter agreement, they weren't just saying no to a deal. They were starting a war. NASCAR has always counted on silence, on obedience, on teams doing what they're told. But Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, they don't play by the same rules. They pushed back, hard. And NASCAR responded like it always does, with power. They yanked the charters. They turned two growing race teams into outsiders overnight. But this time, the outsiders fought back. Hamlin and Jordan didn't beg. They didn't settle. They went straight to court. And what they claimed wasn't just bold, it was explosive. They argued that NASCAR's entire charter system is illegal, a monopoly designed to keep the France family on top, and everyone else begging for scraps. At first, it looked like 2311 had momentum. Last December, a judge granted them a temporary victory, a preliminary injunction that let them race with full charter status while the case moved forward. But then, disaster struck. On June 5th, the Fourth Circuit Court yanked that win away. No more safety net, no more protections. 2311 and FRM were back to being open teams. And that's a nightmare scenario. Without a charter, you lose up to 2/3 of your race weekend earnings. That's millions. And if more than 40 cars show up to a race, you can get sent home. Just like that. So 2311 went back to court, asking for an emergency order to stop NASCAR from taking their charters. The court said no. But they didn't close the door all the way. In the ruling, the judge left one line that changed everything. If these teams are in danger of missing a race, that could be considered irreparable harm. That one sentence was like dropping a match into a gas tank. Because now, if NASCAR allowed more than 40 cars to enter a race, and 2311 got left out, boom, the court could jump in and force their charter back. NASCAR saw the trap, and they panicked. Suddenly, a new line appeared in the NASCAR rulebook, quiet, subtle, but absolutely massive. NASCAR, at its sole discretion, may elect to limit the number of entries for a race to 40. In such instances, open teams will be determined based on team owner point standings. Translation? NASCAR just guaranteed no more than 40 cars will be allowed to enter a race. And if it comes down to picking open teams, they'll use points to decide. Guess who has plenty of points? 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. This wasn't NASCAR being generous. This was NASCAR trying to keep the courts from stepping in again. It's a legal checkmate. By writing that line, NASCAR made it almost impossible for the court to call it irreparable harm. Because now 2311 can't get kicked out of a race. But here's the catch. This doesn't mean NASCAR won. It means they blinked. They rewrote their own rules to dodge a lawsuit. That's not power, that's fear. And Denny Hamlin? He saw it all. And he's not done. He stood in front of cameras and said 6 words that turned heads across the garage. All will be exposed in December. Let that sink in. No handshakes, no settlements, no cozy backroom deals. Hamlin's not just suing NASCAR. He's promising to drag every secret, every deal, every shady move into the light. He even told reporters, mark your calendar. December 1st is the day it all goes down, and the whole sport is holding its breath. But while Denny Hamlin is making noise, someone else is staying quiet. Tyler Reddick. The same Tyler Reddick who brought 2311 Racing to the championship 4 just last year. The same driver whose contract includes a secret escape hatch, a clause that lets him leave the team if they lose their charter. And guess what? That clause is now officially active. When asked about it, Hamlin dodged. When Reddick was pressed, he shut it down completely. No comment, no smile, just silence. And in this game, silence can scream louder than words. Because if 2311 loses this fight, Reddick could walk, sponsors could walk, and the team, even with its star power, would be left bleeding out in a system that doesn't care about underdogs. Think about that. Michael Jordan, the most famous athlete in the world, could watch his race team crash not because they didn't have speed, but because they dared to ask questions. But what if they win? Then everything changes. If the court sides with 2311, it won't just be a win, it'll be a revolution. A legal ruling that could shatter NASCAR's charter system and force the France family to give up some control. It could mean more guaranteed spots for new teams, better revenue sharing, a rewritten power structure where owners like Hamlin and Jordan finally get a real seat at the table. And maybe, just maybe, the days of fear and silence in the garage will finally be over. But that's a big if, because if they lose, the fallout could be brutal. No charter, no safety, no protection. Racing as an open team in NASCAR is like trying to run a marathon with a weight vest, and the track tilting against you. They'd still be fast, still be strong, but without NASCAR's blessing, they'd be racing uphill every week. And for how long can even the best keep doing that? This is no longer about racing. This is about power, about truth, about who really runs this sport, and who has the courage to speak out. Because here's the part that NASCAR doesn't want you to hear. The moment they added that new line to the rule book, they admitted something loud and clear. They were scared. They were scared of a judge ruling against them, scared of what Hamlin might expose, scared that for the first time in decades, the system could be cracked open. And now, the entire racing world is watching. Fans, sponsors, executives, drivers, everyone. They're waiting to see if this sport we all love still belongs to the people who build the cars, strap into the seats, and risk everything every Sunday. Or if it still belongs to a boardroom that's never turned a lap. That's the storm building behind this lawsuit. And December 1st, that's the day it all could break loose. What will come out? Secret contracts, backroom deals, audio recordings, emails showing NASCAR stacking the deck? Will Hamlin bring the proof? Will the judge throw the book at NASCAR? Or will it all quietly fade away, with no justice and no answers? We don't know yet, but what we do know is this. 2311 Racing took the biggest gamble in NASCAR history. They stood up, they spoke out, and they risked it all. Money, sponsors, even their own drivers, to fight for a sport they believe in. And now, with the courtroom as their new racetrack, they're pushing toward the finish line. One thing's for sure, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning of something much bigger. Because whether they win or lose, 2311 has forced the world to look behind the curtain. They've made us ask who holds the power, and whether that power is fair. So now we ask you, if Denny Hamlin really does have the receipts, if Michael Jordan really is ready to change the game, if NASCAR really is being exposed from the inside out, whose side are you on? The old empire fighting to keep its grip? Or the rebels who refuse to stay quiet? Because after December, NASCAR may never be the same again.